There's no need to describe the bridge in any great detail, because it's not what it really seems. Not sculptured stone, nor mountain pine, nor fine old iron geometry. It has no name, because a bridge is defined by where it goes or from where it leads away. And no one remembers exactly where that is. It's not a fragment of a poem, because bridge rolls roughly from the tongue and doesn't rhyme with much. But it's there, this bridge, if only in the mind. And it reaches from where we are to a place that's difficult to find, a province of time and space we must visit, if we are to know who we are and why. Beyond the bridge, there is a place and an experience sliding through time like a wing through wind. We have come to call it Montana. Great mountains tumbling eastward and then soaring upward at the front as if surprised by the plain. Easy, endless pastures of rolling green. Deep, wide forests hiding secrets. Wildflower meadows, clouds of spun silver. Montana is the land. But it's something more. For the land is a stage upon which a powerful human drama has been played. Lives lived before us which shaped the roles we play in our own time. But we have grown apart from our land and our past. Our cities intervene. Our roads, our houses, the various temples of the time. We are, after all, builders. It's in our nature. Yet, so is nature in our nature. And we long to find our way back sometimes to the forces of earth and history which shaped our lives and even now give it meaning. And so we come back to the bridge, a way back to who we are, and the bridge builders who make our passage secure. In south-central Montana, near where the Madison River helps the Missouri on its way, there is a bridge that leads back 2,000 years or more. It's called Pishkin, the Madison Buffalo Jump, one of many important historical sites preserved by the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. At first, it looks little different from the surrounding country, but look closely and you can feel the echoes of things past. Stone rings which held a forest of teepees secure against the wind. Pits which might have been hiding places for eagle catchers. and there is the land itself and its pageant of life and death. So imagine how it was. There were no horses then, no guns to bring the buffalo down. Yet the survival of the Plains Indian depended on the meat, hides, and bones of the buffalo. Life itself leaned on what seems an unlikely possibility, that a frail David could vanquish an invincible Goliath. One among them was chosen, trained since boyhood for this one moment. Prayers had been danced. The hunters were in position. The boy speaks to the lead buffalo with words of will greater than any language. The herd begins to move. The boy runs, pursued by thunder. His task, to lead the herd over the cliff so that his people might live another season. What became of the runner, and how does he fare? What of the millions who lived, felt joy and sorrow, and are now a part of the earth which nourishes our own lives? If we can build a bridge to those lives, that great chorus of distant heartbeats, our own will be enriched beyond measure. There is an old hotel someone built where the Missouri River is born. Who slept here, or what they dreamed in these ruined rooms, no one knows for sure. But here, at the Missouri Headwaters State Park, if you climb a hill nearby and let your mind flow with the river, you can see your own history pass like a parade. There was a time, not long ago, when people believed the land beyond the great American Missouri River held golden cities and mountains of crystal and tribes of fearless Amazons. It was that remote from the knowable civilized world. Then, in 1805, Thomas Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark this way, to see what we had bought from Napoleon for a song. And then, in the shadow of Lewis and Clark, a curiously heroic character came to the Headwaters country. His name was Coulter. His name was Bridger. His name was Jedediah Smith, Bill Sublette, and Joe Walker. Lonely, self-reliant adventurers with a passion for the natural life and an eye for making a fortune, trapping beaver if they could. The mountain man's life was a constant struggle with the elements, but never were men more free or closer to the earth or more keenly attuned to the changing of the seasons. That he came here at all is a strange irony. The whim of a fashion that was sweeping London's Strand. For the well-bred gentleman of the time, the beaver hat was the rage. The mountain man set his traps to satisfy the sartorial needs of the London dandy. And in working his traps, he opened a nation's way west. When the long winter was over, those who survived gathered at rendezvous along the rivers to trade pelts and tales and touch for a while the comfort of community. There were never more than 1,000 of these daring entrepreneurs, and their time lasted less than 20 years. But the lives they lived suggest the genesis of what is best in the American character. A little wild, boundlessly bold, aggressively independent, and at ease with the silence and solitudes of a free and natural land. It is a spirit that lives on to this day. South of Badger Pass, near Grasshopper Creek, there is another bridge to who we were and are. A ghost town now, preserved as a Montana state park. Bannack was once a booming, lawless, dream-filled town, capital of the Montana Territory. And if the essence of who we are was nourished by the solitudes of the wilderness, it was also forged by gold fever. For the first time in world history, any man, regardless of birth, could become fabulously wealthy in the wink of an eye. There was gold in Grasshopper Creek.
Yeah, I said he was going that way. I think you might have something over there. Okay. Probably may have, but he'd never tell.
It's no wonder the word fortune also means luck. And in Bannack, that luck could be terribly good or terribly bad.
Yeah, they tell me, oh, son.
For no place was more alive with possibility or more deadly.
We got it. Those ain't bad, but these are a little better.
You discarded 3. Well, you cheated.
Bannack sleeps peacefully now. But in its day, it was stalked by murder. Violent death lurked behind every corner. No one knows for sure how many people the notorious Henry Plummer gang killed. Jake Sylvie killed 12. But the day came when the town had had enough and vigilante committees were formed and the gang gathered one last time at the gallows. Dutch John, the Greaser, Clubfoot George, Whiskey Bill, Henry Plummer. One by one, some 25 in all were hanged till dead. Their executions as violent and perhaps as lawless as their crimes. The bridge to Bannack is not very long at all. Plummer was hanged in 1864. merely 2 human lifetimes ago. And the bones of the old town remind us how far we've come in a very short time. From social chaos to social order. It also reminds us how fragile the human community can be when built on gold in lieu of law. Throughout the state, we're preserving bridges to our past, historical sites and parks which provide us an awareness of where we reside on that great continuum leading from prehistory toward tomorrow. To understand our own time with clarity, it's critical to preserve access to the past. But there is another kind of bridge a free society must keep in repair. A bridge to the earth, to the land, to the natural world from which we've grown apart. To the west is the stone fist of the Rocky Mountain front. To the east, the Missouri's Great Falls. Between, at a place called Freeze-Out Lake, first light paints an autumn morning. Two men and a retriever nest in bulrush by the shallow alkaline water, decoys miming reality. It's an elastic moment transcending time itself.
Some real low out there.
Oh, yeah.
They wait, as hunters have ever waited, for the symphony of morning wings.
Anything there?
There's one of those big flocks coming in off the fields.
Another one.
A little more. No.
Good shot.
In a country where private ownership is a hard-won virtue, the preservation of lands for public use is a cultural imperative. For we are a part of the land, and without access to the natural environment, we are far from whole. The 12,000-acre Freeze-Out Lake Management Area is one of many lands within Montana preserved to bring people and nature together again.
Can you see?
And the reunion is a magic thing to see. At times, up to 1 million waterfowl are here at one time. Snow geese, whistling swans, pintails, and mallards. Freeze-Out Lake was developed primarily to support public hunting. But in the process, a remarkable diversity of bird life has evolved for all to enjoy. A living classroom for those who would better understand the morning of the 4th day of creation. The natural tapestry of Montana's lands is traced with a silver thread of rivers. Sometimes whisper still, sometimes thunder. The Madison, the Yellowstone, the Flathead, Clark Fork, and Missouri. It was along these rivers that our experience with the land began. Without free passage down the rivers, we would be locked away from our most precious heritage. Remember the way the profile of the mountains change as you move from one river bend to another. The day warm as a hand. Learning the mysteries of the river from one who had lived its secrets. The river's song over smooth, round stones. The sense of being the first people to ever come this way. A high-hearted encounter with a rainbow. Feeling the power of a river narrowed by the canyon. Whips of cold spray and the sound of cannonade. Then, that other mood. Lazy as a truant. An easy old poem without verbs. Remember the rivers? On the rivers and streams of Montana, hundreds of thousands of people spend several million days angling each year. There is the call of the cutthroat, the rainbow, the grayling, and the brown, the whitefish and the walleye, and the strangely prehistoric paddlefish of the Yellowstone and Upper Missouri. But what if there was no public access to the rivers? It would be as if a great cultural treasure were locked away in a vault somewhere. Yet Montana's treasure remains. For together, we have built a bridge to the rivers. A bridge we can cross freely if we wish. Working with landowners and sportsmen, we have established access sites, small parks of land, along major Montana rivers. Now we can embark on adventures not unlike the first adventures lived on this land. We have preserved a bridge to bring us back to the river. There is another bridge we must cross if we are to feel the land and our history alive in our lives. It is a bridge to the bear, to the ram, to the eagle, and the elk. For years without number, we have shared our land and our history with a vibrant tapestry of living things. There was a time when the human community and the wildlife of our natural environment were easy neighbors. But with time, we have become strangers. As our communities spread out upon the earth, we threaten the very existence of the bear, the ram, the eagle, and the elk. The free range they required for survival was subdivided by our progress. Little by little, our wild, free neighbors found fences and towns blocking the paths of their ancient and imperative migrations. But now, we are building a bridge back to the bear and the ram, the eagle, and the elk. In a natural corridor reaching from Glacier National Park in the north to the Yellowstone in the south, there is an ancient freeway winding among the mountains. For centuries, as the winds of winter begin to touch the alpine meadows, There has been a timeless stirring among the elk who have summered in the mountains since long before the oldest living memory. What guides the elk to their winter range, some 35 miles or more away, is a mystery. But it's a journey as certain and as predictable as the seasons. Not only is the timing of the elk migration predictable, but so is the herd's destination. Each year, they are led inexorably to a specific range, as if it had been claimed as their own in some curious transaction with nature in the distant past. The migration pattern from summer to winter range seems to be a biological imperative, a rhythm absolutely critical to the elk's survival. As our communities grew, we often threatened these historic migration patterns. There was a danger of absorbing the winter range for our own use and blocking the ancient freeway of the elk. But in the early years of this century, an alliance of conservationists, cattlemen, and sportsmen began an effort to preserve the historic winter ranges, to build bridges along which the elk might pass. Land was purchased, and a series of managed game ranges was established along the corridor. Sun River, Porcupine, Beartooth, Blackfoot, Clearwater, Judith River. Managed by the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, these lands assure a continuing natural balance between the needs of the human community and our neighboring wildlife. By saving the elk, we have preserved a thing of immeasurable value to our own lives. There is a bridge we built together that takes us back to something we were in danger of losing. Back to our own land and our own history. It was difficult to build this bridge. It took a very long time. And it is not yet as strong as it might be. Some say there is no need to have a bridge at all. The past is gone. The land has changed. Why cling to what is passing? Yet, once you have stepped across and have heard the heartbeat of an Indian runner, felt the wandering ghosts of a gold rush town, listened to the thunderous silence of the mountain man's world, heard the honking of the snow geese on an autumn morning, felt the river sliding down through a stone canyon, touched the country of the bear and the ram, the eagle and the elk. Once you have celebrated these things, the critical importance of the bridge becomes abundantly clear. It does not lead away from where we are. It leads us home.